So we are privileged to have a very distinguished friend with us, uh, Andrew, but we call him Drew, and he's from America. And can you say something more about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from America. I'm finding myself in India after going on a bit of a soul searching journey. About a year ago, I quit my PhD in clinical psychology in Michigan state in America, and I was studying trauma and how to help people heal from core wounds. And I started to realize that how we learn to heal in America lacked a lot, lacked soul.
Mhm.
So I decided to sunset that journey and close that chapter of my life. And all of a sudden, I was studying yoga, learning about yogic philosophy, and realizing that a trail was unfolding in front of me. And I found myself in India a year
Mhm.
later, learning much more about that topic, but in a different way. So that's how I came here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, so, what do you think was the contribution of this journey in your life? This
Mm.
journey to India. How long have you been here?
2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 months. I think the journey started a long time ago, to be honest. I have a history of trauma in my life from from my youth, and I found myself when I was about 24. I'm almost 33 now. Finding myself in therapy for the first
Mhm.
time when I was kind of shrouded in a lot of darkness, a lot of uncertainty, not knowing um, who I was at that time because it felt so detached from who I thought I was. That darkness, that trauma was kind of bubbling up to the surface. And when I started to go to therapy for the first time, I started to realize that a different way of life was possible. And so for every week, for almost 8 years now, I've been going into that internal search, the inner journey of finding who the true self was.
Mhm.
Um, and I think ultimately that true self that I've been uncovering slowly for many years is what led me here. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Great. So, what are we going to talk about now?
You know, I so I didn't study psychology originally.
Uh-huh.
I think the impetus or the motivation for that came from my own journey.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I've been thinking about, especially after turning to that professional side, going to the PhD, the academic route to learn about trauma, to learn about healing, one of the things that comes up the most for people that I engage with, either professionally or personally, is there's this deep sense of fear to go internal.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that I've learned is that you can't have the light without the darkness.
Mhm.
But I think the fear is a block for many people to turn towards the shadow, to turn towards the pain within them. And I would love your perspective on the utility of doing that. What can help motivate someone to turn towards the thing that might be the most scary thing in their life, right?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
most terrifying thing. What is the meaning behind turning towards it, and how can
Mhm.
we help motivate that for those who are maybe lost in the darkness right now?
Mhm. I would like to explain it with the help of an analogy.
Yeah.
So, suppose your life is a huge vessel
Mm.
full of water,
Okay.
and so you have been taking water out of it and putting more water into it for years and years, but you never thought of finding out what is at the bottom.
Mm.
So all the impurity is there at the bottom,
Uh,
and there are layers like sedimentary rocks. So the deeper you go, the harder the layer is.
mm.
So when we start meditating, the top layer, which is very fragile, top layer is gone. Top layer is it breaks and it comes to the surface, and
Mm.
then Coming to the surface means now you have cleaned it. Now your water is cleaner than before for some time. But if you continue working on it,
Mm-hmm.
continue meditating,
Mm-hmm.
then at some point the second layer will break,
Mm-hmm.
which was harder than the first,
Mm-hmm.
and will cause more panic
Mm-hmm.
or whatever emotions were associated with this than before.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are ready for that, in the beginning you feel good because in the beginning you did a little bit of work
Mm-hmm.
with cleansing
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But the deeper you go, more cleansing is needed,
Mm.
and it is more difficult.
So to use that analogy, the way that I'm picturing it in my mind as you're saying it, I'm imagining almost like a pool. So a
Mm,
big tub of water where I can fully immerse myself in it.
mm.
And imagine that that container of water has levels to it.
Right.
So I can get to that first level and I can step down. I'm still standing,
Mm.
right? But I can kind of rinse that impurity away because I'm able to stand within that water. But to get to the next step, I have to go up to my waist,
Right. Right. Right.
right? And
Yeah.
that creates more fear and
More
panic.
fear and panic. Yeah.
So and then the next layer
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
is up to my neck.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to swim,
Mm. Mm.
right? And it
Mm.
starts to get really scary.
Mhm.
What then?
The only way is to face it because
Yeah,
it happened with me also through this Vipassana 10-day
I just
meditations.
did one too. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a period in my life, about 6 months, when I was doing just this 10-day Vipassana, then I would change the center.
Mhm.
They don't let you do another course immediately.
I just found that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then I would change the center. At that time, they didn't have any record on the computer. These days, they
Hmm.
have. And so I was doing this 10-day, then another 10-day, and with just 2 3 days gap,
Mm.
traveling from one place to another.
Mm.
And that was too much for me.
Hmm.
Like suddenly you are working with all the muck at the bottom
Yeah.
and you're not ready.
Yeah.
And so it was towards the end of the 6 months, the last course, it was like my whole body is boiling and there is a tremendous kind of vibration, and the vibration starts somewhere here. By the time it goes to the heart,
Mm.
it is already
Yeah.
unbearable, and then it goes to the head and I'm about to explode.
Yeah.
So scary, so
So
scary.
scary.
So in the morning I thought this doesn't happen to anybody. It's only happening to me. I went to the teacher, and the teacher was cool and smiling. He said, "So what?" So I said, "I can't meditate anymore."
Mm.
He said, "This is what was supposed to happen.
Mm.
Now face it."
Mm.
I said, "But how to face it?" He said, "Just sit, let it come, let it go. And if you can do it one sitting, 1 hour, then you know that you can deal with it."
Mm.
So anyway, I did one sitting, and that was the 1 hour of my life when I saw the climax of fear,
Mm.
and and it was gone. After that 1 hour, I have never experienced that kind of fear
Yeah.
again.
Mm.
And now, little bit of fear in any shape comes, anxiety,
Yeah.
uncertainty, whatever, but it's very mild, not
Mm.
difficult to deal with. But everybody is not so strong, and for some reason, I had no other way, and the teacher also helped.
Hmm.
But people get panicky, and also there is misconception. Many people think that meditation is supposed to give you good feeling,
Yeah. That was one of
pleasure,
mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
good feeling. And
Bliss.
then when something like this comes, fear, uh, then they think it is a wrong direction,
Yeah.
and it's a wrong meditation.
Yeah.
There may be some kind of techniques of meditation that only give you good feeling, maybe.
Mm.
In that case, you are working only on the surface
Yeah.
and you are not going to the depths
Yeah.
of your being.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think those techniques are not so very useful.
Mm. In America, one of the things that I often think about and talk about, especially being in India for the past couple of months, is the way that I grew up it's such an externally driven experience of life.
Mm.
You know, we are raised to value hard work. We're raised to value material success, making a certain amount of money, getting a certain promotion, taking care of family, providing for family, and it's all outside of us.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
all outside of us. And now, especially with things like social media,
Mm.
I often, see and have this vision of other people throughout the world just fully focused on outside of them, right?
Mm.
Scrolling,
Mm.
scrolling, scrolling. And it's almost like we've continued to lose touch with ourselves, and therefore we also continue to lose touch with each other.
Mm. Mm.
And one of the things that I think has been most beautiful for my journey is the realization that even though my individual journey is mine, all of the guck and all of the shadows that I have been able to process has actually allowed for greater relationship, greater connection with other people, more community.
Mm.
And I think about that as being a really like the golden light that kind of leads us through the darkness as well, because so many people I think are really experiencing a ton of isolation right
Mm.
now, a ton of fear,
Mm.
external now to them, but also the idea of going internal is so much fear as
Mm.
well.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm trying to, I think, balance like how do I motivate, how do I inspire, how do we collectively make that journey, that commitment to self, as we
Mm.
also make a commitment to community too, because I feel like that's also a lost
Mm.
experience, at least in my country.
Mm.
In India, I think the value of community is so high.
Mm.
It's one of the things that I'm really taking away with my heart as I go home. But that's what I think of too is that can be the nugget of motivation to kind of walk that path.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. So, okay. So, what is your message to youth? Because I get lots of comments,
Yeah.
and many young people are on the verge of either committing suicide
Mm.
or they are lost,
Yeah.
totally lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
This competitive exam now, like more than 1 million children are preparing for the exam, but they only need maybe 1200, 1300.
Oh, the government exam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
So
about that.
there is this panic,
Yeah.
and they don't see any other way of leading their life, any other way of earning their livelihood.
Mm.
So, what is your suggestion for these kind of people?
Oh gosh. Yeah, the first, thing that came to mind when you were describing that is for young people, I think of actually all people, because a lot of the work that I do with my clients and friends and just loved ones is, and what I've done in my personal journey is reconnecting with my inner child,
Mm,
right?
mm,
No matter
mm,
your age, I think the return home to youth, the return home to hope and vibrancy is the first step of being able to find play, find hope in the embodiment of self is something that I think is really necessary to navigate uncertainty.
mhm,
Because I think the thing that I'm grappling with too is when I quit my PhD is I was following the path that was prescribed to me, kind of like the government job,
mm,
right?
mm,
This is the path that I was told in life that was the one that would lead to success.
mm,
And all of a sudden, I'm now on a path that is no path in front of me. It's unfolding as I take a step in front of it.
mm,
And a wise man told me the other day to just take the first step, to continue to take the step, even if it's not the prescribed path, but to go with the path of your heart,
mhm,
the thing
mhm,
that lights you up, that brings you joy, that feels like it's in alignment with your whole body's vibration.
mm,
And if you find joy in the things that you do, I'm starting to find that things start to meet you where you're at. So the
mhm,
step that you take, life kind of meets you with 10 extra steps.
mhm,
So I would say follow joy, follow the thing that vibrates to the level of joy and love and
mhm,
hope in your body, and not the thing of fear or constraint. So much of life, I think, is an oscillation of contraction and expansion,
mhm,
but there should continuously be expansion coming, even when the moments when we need to contract inward. And to
mhm,
not push away the fear either.
mhm,
That's another thing that I think I've realized too is fear is a natural byproduct, but allow it to come, allow it to go, and to
mhm.
continue to follow the path of joy.
Great,
Yeah.
great, great. Anything else that's coming to your mind?
uh, I think the biggest thing is, in addition to that, is that you don't have to do it alone.
mm,
The biggest thing that I think, like I said, I've realized is that life is not meant to be done
mm,
alone.
mhm,
And I think when we are in the trenches of our concern, our despair, our worry about whether or not I'm going to be able to fit in the path that's prescribed, maybe you aren't meant to fit in. And if you know that there's so many other people who are not able to get that job, well,
mm,
you're certainly not alone in that.
mm,
Find those people. Find the ones that are also worried, the ones that are also looking to find their joy,
mhm.
and create joy together.
Great message. This is a
Yeah.
great message. So thank you
Yeah.
very, very much.
Thank you.
Uh, and you inspired me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sergi.